We begin this deep dive, not in some dusty archive or a library, but out on a sun-bleached stretch of California coast. Our main character is there, doing his best to avoid any real work.
He's just lounging
Right.
right near a seawall, enjoying the kind of anonymity that comes with looking exactly like a derelict.
Exactly. He is Irwin Fletcher Fletch, and he is about to get an offer that is, I mean, it's completely and totally impossible to refuse.
And this is just the ultimate setup for high-stakes deception, really. And it's
Yeah.
all framed around a very specific financial instrument, a life insurance policy.
We meet Alan Stanwyck. He's impeccably dressed, a wealthy socialite, executive VP of Collins Aviation, and he's approaching Fletch.
The contrast is just immediate. I mean, you have Stanwyck, this figure of immense corporate power, literally standing over Fletch, the supposed drifter.
And Stanwyck, he doesn't even bother with small talk. He just drops an envelope with $1,000 onto Fletch's lap. Cash.
Just for listening.
Just for the courtesy of listening to his proposition. Fletch, being super practical, he just asks, is it criminal?
And Stanwyck's reply is just, it's chilling. A simple, of course.
And then it comes, the proposal that defines this entire story. I want you to murder me.
Followed by Fletch's immediate, almost flippant response.
Yeah.
Just one word.
Sure. It might be the greatest opening line in modern literature. It just sets this tone of, I don't know, irreverent acceptance of this massive moral crime.
The hook is set right there because you, the listener, you immediately ask,
Thought.
why? And Stanwyck, he has an answer ready, a story that is perfectly calculated to, get sympathy and compliance.
Right. He claims he has terminal cancer, non-operable, non-treatable.
He says he has maybe 3 or 4 months left to live, and he argues he wants a quick, painless death, primarily to avoid voiding this colossal $3 million life insurance policy.
And that's the crucial financial detail, isn't it? If Stanwyck commits suicide, the policy is nullified. There's no payout.
But if he's murdered,
If he's murdered in a staged robbery gone wrong, his wife and child get the full $3 million tax-free.
so he's selling it as this elaborate, rational, almost selfless act, a mercy killing for his family's benefit.
And that is exactly what Fletch has to investigate. So our mission in this deep dive is to track Fletch as he agrees to this murder, really just to buy himself some time.
Exactly 1 week.
Leading up to next Thursday evening, he has to figure out the truth because Fletch just does not believe the story.
No, not for a second. Stanwyck looks well and fit, And if the story is false, it's not just some small-time insurance fraud. It's a hell of a story.
So we have to analyze every single contradictory fact that Fletch uncovers to piece together the true and far more sinister motive that's hiding behind this offer.
Okay, so let's dig into Phase I, the actual mechanics of this so-called perfect crime.
Stanwyck didn't just pick Fletch out of a lineup. He did his homework. He invested some serious time into surveillance.
That's right. He was meticulously prepared. He told Fletch he'd been watching him off and on the last few days.
Observing his association with, what does he call them, the dregs of society.
Yeah, the drug addicts on the beach. He saw Fletch as exactly the kind of expendable character, skinny, calloused feet, easily overlooked, who would be drawn in by a quick $20,000 and then just disappear.
Right. The total lack of a provable connection between the rich executive and the beach bum was, well, it was central to making sure the insurance company would pay out without any suspicion.
He completely misjudged his man. He assumed Fletch was a bottom feeder, someone who wouldn't ask too many questions.
Big mistake. Fletch, being Fletch, immediately pushes back on the price.
The initial offer was $20,000, like you said.
Yeah.
And Fletch, with this just characteristic audacity, he immediately demands $50,000.
And his justification is perfect.
It is. He points out, you forget you're to be the victim. You want it done humanely. It's just this masterful piece of negotiation.
Because it appeals directly to Stanwyck's desire for a quick, guaranteed, painless exit.
Absolutely. Stanwyck, despite his contempt for Fletch, he agrees instantly to the $50,000 cash price. He realizes the victim really has no leverage when arguing over the cost of his own professional demise.
Okay, so let's detail the exact timing and logistics. Stanwyck laid all this out for Thursday evening, 8:30 p.m. This is like an executive-level murder plan.
Oh, it is precise. Stanwyck made sure his whole domestic situation was cleared. His wife, Joan, she would be at a committee meeting at the exclusive rackets club.
All the servants would be out of the house.
Right. And Fletch was told to enter through the unlocked French windows in the library. Stanwyck even notes that leaving them unlocked is a small oversight, but it's one that looks accidental, which helps the whole staged robbery narrative.
And Stanwyck basically provides a script for the robbery itself.
He does. He explains he'll have the safe opened, which contains the $50,000 in cash, and he'd mess up the house himself to simulate a struggle or, a burglary in progress that just went tragically wrong.
The weapon was also predetermined.
Yes, and this is key. Fletch was instructed to use Stanwyck's own loaded .38 caliber Smith & Wesson, which was kept in the desk drawer.
So a weapon already registered to the victim can't be traced back to the Phantom Killer?
Exactly. Fletch just has to wear gloves, of course, to make sure no prints are left behind.
The escape route is just as solid. He's supposed to take Stanwyck's gray Jaguar XKE,
License plate 4400001.
drive it to the airport, and hop on a prepaid TWA flight directly to Buenos Aires, completely untraceable by any local authorities.
I mean, it's flawlessly engineered, provided, of course, that Fletch is exactly who Stanwyck thinks he is.
Which he is not. And this is the crucial turning point, right? The immediate reality check that shifts Fletch from a potential hired killer to a high-risk investigative journalist.
Because Stanwyck picked this disposable addict, but Fletch recorded every single word of that conversation.
On a tape recorder that he cleverly strapped to the passenger seat of his MG.
And we learn the truth. Fletch is I Am Fletcher, a great hotshot young reporter for the News Tribune, and he's currently working deep cover on a local beach drug story.
His cover was so good that Stanwyck, this meticulous executive, never for a moment questioned it.
But Fletch's journalistic skepticism, it immediately overrides his need for cash. Stanwyck looks well and fit, which totally contradicts the terminal cancer claim, and that claim is the core truth of the whole proposition.
So the entire mission changes from, survival to investigation. Fletch agrees to the murder, securing that 1 week of time.
Knowing Stanwyck won't hire a replacement while Fletch is still on the job.
His new focus is just to unravel this massive discrepancy.
And he's chasing, what, 4 interlocking questions, really? And the answers he knows contain that hell of a story.
Is this man really Alan Stanwyck, or is he posing?
Does he actually have terminal cancer?
Is the $3 million insurance policy even legitimate?
And maybe the most complex question of all, does Stanwyck genuinely want to die? Because if he doesn't...
then Fletch is being set up as the perfect fall guy.
Exactly.
That sets the stage for Phase 2. Fletch starts collecting these contradictory facts, and he's essentially building 2 separate profiles of Alan Stanwyck that just violently clash with each other.
You have the public Stanwyck, and then you have the private reality.
Let's start with the cancer.
The cancer claim is the entire premise of the scheme, right? But Fletch's own visual diagnosis is instantaneous. Stanwyck is incredibly healthy. He's built like a 20-year-old boxer.
There is zero visible evidence of some incurable, non-treatable disease.
So Fletch pursues the medical angle relentlessly. He tracks down Dr. Joseph Devlin, who is Stanwyck's family physician.
And a man who also happens to be a college roommate of Stanwyck's powerful father-in-law, John Collins.
Devlin confirms the $3 million policy is real, but he states unequivocally that Stanwyck is in perfectly healthy shape.
And he would know.
He sees Stanwyck socially. They go to the same club. They're in the pool, the locker room together. Devlin has direct recent knowledge of Stanwyck's physique. He confirms Stanwyck drinks and smokes, but moderately, all well within acceptable limits.
And here's the massive contradiction. Devlin, Stanwyck's primary care doctor, has never referred Stanwyck to a specialist. Ever.
And has never treated him for a terminal illness.
That's a fatal flaw in the cancer story right there. A terminal diagnosis, it requires a specialist, tests, records. Stanwyck, a corporate VP, wouldn't just have some, secret, self-diagnosed cancer.
And that denial is strengthened even further by Bert Eberhardt, the insurance agent, and a college friend.
Right.
Eberhardt insists Stanwyck is in perfect physical condition, but the interview with him yields this vital psychological clue.
The Freudian slip.
Exactly. Eberhardt says, and I'm quoting here, "Al placed so close to the chest, he wouldn't tell you if he were dying of cancer."
Which confirms Stanwyck's intense secrecy, his ability to just wall off his personal life, which is necessary for the fraud.
But it doesn't confirm the disease. So Fletch realizes he's confirmed the financial risk.
Yeah.
The $3 million policy is real, and the character trait, extreme secrecy. But the core premise, the cancer, is still only supported by Stanwyck himself.
So his conclusion is that the diagnosis is highly suspect, and it's likely a lie designed solely to justify the requested murder.
So if he's not dying, he's disappearing. and that takes a certain kind of financial profile.
Let's look at Stanwyk's public image. He's the perfect golden boy.
Oh, his resume is flawless. Colgate. Captain in the USAF, flew 24 missions in Indochina, earned a Purple Heart, which immediately raises his public stature.
Then Wharton Business School. And now he's the executive VP of Collins Aviation, successfully running the place for his father-in-law. The stock is solid. His future is set.
And that $3 million policy, the focus of the supposed scheme, it isn't even standard corporate coverage. It has this deeply personal origin.
Which, to your earlier point, suggests a certain recklessness on Stanwyk's part.
It does. John Collins, the chairman and father-in-law, put that policy on Stanwyck specifically to discourage him from continuing to fly experimental planes, especially after his daughter Julia was born.
Collins was worried about Stanwyk's risk-taking.
And as a condition of his employment, Stanwyck had to pay the premiums himself.
So wait, John Collins was using a financial deterrent to stop his son-in-law from courting death in these dangerous aircraft.
And Stanwyck paid thousands of dollars a year to continue doing exactly what Collins was afraid of.
So this circles back to a crucial psychological insight we need to keep tracking. Why was Stanwyck so determined to keep risking his life, even paying for the policy that would benefit his family if he died?
It suggests this underlying dissatisfaction, a slow burn death wish, or at least a powerful desire for escape that predates the whole Fletch proposition. This wasn't some snap decision. It was the culmination of years of calculated risk.
And financially, he wasn't desperate. Fletch determined Stanwyck was in pretty good financial condition. He'd saved over $100,000 from his salary.
Right. He wasn't embezzling. He didn't have a gambling problem. He just wanted more money, tax-free, for a different life.
Which brings us to the financial contradiction that blows the public narrative completely sky high. The Nevada ranch.
Yes. Everyone in Stanwyck's inner circle, his wife, John Collins, the insurance agent, Aberhart, even his stockbroker, Bill Carmichael, they all confirm that Stanwyck is currently buying a massive $15 million ranch in Nevada.
And they know the broker, a guy named Jim Swartout.
Right. So this ranch story, it explains Stanwyck's need for liquidity, his stock sales, and it provides a perfectly respectable explanation for any strange financial behavior he's exhibiting. It's the official corporate story.
But Fletch, posing as Carmichael's assistant, calls the supposed broker Jim Swartout.
And Swartout delivers this explicit, definitive denial. He says the deal is not happening, there's no such property available, and the most damning fact.
He has never heard of Alan Stanwyck.
Never.
That's astonishing control. Stanwyck managed to sell a complete fiction about a $15 million land deal to every single person he was financially obligated to.
He wasn't preparing for death. He was constructing a future that didn't exist in order to justify his sudden disappearance. He was building the stage for his exit.
And the final, most painful piece of his constructed false life emerges through this estranged family paradox. This is where Stanwyck's duplicity moves from just corporate fraud to profound emotional cruelty.
Yeah. Joan Stanwyck, the wife, she tells Fletch that Alan hates his parents, Marvin and Helen, who live in Nonhegan, Pennsylvania.
And she has a clear reason. His father supposedly forced him to box Golden Gloves when Alan was 15, and Alan hated it, refused to go to the Nationals, and that caused this permanent rift.
A nice, clean, Freudian explanation for why the family is so distant.
Very tidy.
So Fletch, posing as an insurance man checking on policy beneficiaries, calls Marvin Stanwyck. And Marvin confirms he and his wife are alive and well.
But he immediately corrects every single detail of Joan's story.
They are not estranged. Alan visits them every 6 weeks or so. He flies his own Collins aviation jet and stays at the Nonhegan Inn because he needs a switchboard for, discreet calls.
And the boxing story is completely inverted.
Completely. Marvin insists that they, the parents, tried everything to make Alan stop boxing. They were afraid of brain damage and were relieved when he quit.
He didn't quit because of rebellion. He quit because of a girl, Sally Ann Cushing.
Right. And furthermore, Marvin explains the whole wedding story. They missed Alan's wedding not because there were some kind of social embarrassments, which is what Joan implied.
No, it's because Alan had paid for their vacation to Antigua, and the wedding date was suddenly moved forward while they were away.
So Stanwyck fabricated the entire estrangement, but only for Joan, his corporate family, and the outside world.
So he's maintaining two completely separate lives. He's flying across the country every 6 weeks to see the family he supposedly hates. And he's lying about the reason he missed the wedding, which was actually an act of his own generosity.
That is a level of calculated isolation that is, it's truly unsettling.
And here's the most astonishing just chilling detail, the one that screams total separation between his two lives.
Despite visiting Nonhegan regularly for years, Alan has never told his parents he has a child.
Julia. She's 5 or 6 years old.
And Marvin and Helen believe they are childless.
He kept his own daughter a secret from his parents for half a decade. That shows a profound, almost sociopathic level of control over his various narratives. If Stanwyck is willing to erase his own daughter from his relationship with his parents, what else is he willing to erase?
Everything. He is curating his life story for different audiences. The corporate life requires him to be the faithful husband and son-in-law of this powerful man.
But the truth requires him to maintain a completely different secret reality built around his original family and his past relationships.
Which brings us cleanly into Phase 3. This is where Fletch exposes the double life and, crucially, discovers exactly who Stanwyck planned to flee with and why Fletch was the perfect patsy.
If Phase 2 showed Stanwyck's ability to lie to everyone, Phase 3 exposes the fragile emotional core that's underneath that corporate shell.
And it starts with the routine. Joan Stanwyck says Ellen works late until midnight on Mondays and Wednesdays. Fletch, who's tailing him, observes Stanwyck leaving the office before 5 p.m. on a Monday.
He's maintaining a rigid schedule for his alternate life. Fletch follows him to an apartment on Putnam Street, rented under the name Sandra Faulkner.
And when Fletch sees Stanwyck leave, he notes that he's buying 3 bottles of liquor, a steady supply, which suggests a serious, regular commitment to the woman inside.
So Fletch adopts another cover. He's from Green Brothers Management.
And he manages to threaten eviction on morals charges to get Sandra Faulkner to open up and talk to him.
And Sandra is revealed to be the widow of a Navy test pilot who died a year prior. And this is where Stanwyck's character really just fractures into pieces.
Sandra reveals that she was a heavy-drinking ex-employee of Collins Aviation, and she'd run out of money after her husband's death. Stanwyck found her, paid for her hospitalization, and has been supporting her ever since.
Visiting her every Monday and Wednesday.
Right. She hopes to have his child, she believes his health is terrific, and she is completely unaware of any impending death or change in their life.
And Fletch, the supposed amoral drifter, he notes that this affair is generous, even noble. This act of sincere mercy toward a fellow pilot's widow, it stands in stark contrast to the cold-blooded plotter who intends to burn a stranger alive for $3 million.
How do you reconcile this man?
You can't. He's not purely a villain. He's deeply human, driven by these complex loyalties and obligations, but he's trapped in a life he clearly despises.
His moral compass is selective. It operates strongly when he's dealing with fellow aviators or people he feels genuinely responsible for.
But it's completely absent when he's dealing with his wife, his parents, or the expendable drifter he just hired.
Sandra also mentions this tiny, peculiar detail that Fletch immediately files away. Her apartment was robbed the previous night.
And the items stolen were just cosmetics, aspirin, toothpaste, and 1 towel, all taken through a small window. It seems like a random low-level crime, but Fletch holds on to it.
Meanwhile, Fletch is pursuing Stanwyck's other life. He's posing as John, an old friend of Alan's from the Air Force.
And he engages with Joan Stanwyck, the wife, over a couple of martinis after tennis. He manages to get her to reveal her own unfaithfulness and availability.
And during their intimacy, Joan, the wife who is supposed to be the beneficiary of the $3 million policy, delivers the single most terrifying clue to Fletch's true danger.
She remarks that Fletch and her husband, Alan, have identical bone structures.
Despite looking physically different, Stanwyck is dark and heavier, Fletch is blonde and leaner, but the physical architecture, it's the same.
That is the ultimate twist. Stanwyck didn't need a random drifter, he needed a doppelganger. Fletch immediately understands the sinister significance.
He confirms his own military history Marines, flew in Indochina, has a passport fax he had lied about to Stanwyck when he was claiming to be just a drifter. He possesses the identical physical structure and the believable background needed to assume Stanwyck's identity post-mortem.
And this is the moment the case pivots from insurance fraud to premeditated, high-level identity theft and murder.
Fletch realizes he wasn't hired to kill Stanwyck. He was hired to be Stanwyck.
So the fake cancer story, the fake Nevada ranch, the fabricated estrangement from his parents, it all points to a deliberate plan for Stanwyck to just disappear.
So, who was the real focus of Stanwyck's frequent secret trips back to Nonhegan, Pennsylvania? It wasn't just his parents.
No, it was his first love, Sally Ann Cushing Kavanaugh.
The girl who made him quit boxing years ago and who really defined the emotional trajectory of his entire life. He was secretly seeing her.
She had recently divorced her husband, Bill Kavanaugh, an insurance salesman in Nonhegan.
And Stanwyck even carried a small bequest for her on his own policy, keeping her financially tethered to him all those years.
The motive is no longer just financial escape. It's romantic and paternal. Stanwyck planned to flee with Sally Ann and her son William, who's 12 years old.
And given Stanwyck's history with Sally Ann and the timing of their earlier relationship, William is heavily implied to be Stanwyck's son.
Or at least the result of the situation that shattered Stanwyck's youth and forced him into this corporate life he now hated.
And Fletch confirms the timing. Sally Ann and William had just sold everything and left for the West Coast. They checked into a local hotel near Stanwyck's airfield, and they were scheduled to check out the following Friday.
Right after the proposed murder date, everything was in motion.
So the true scheme crystallizes. Stanwyck intended to murder Fletch, the perfect doppelganger, dress him in his own clothes, ring lighter.
Stage a car crash and a fire, using his known love of flying and risk-taking as the perfect cover to explain the burned, unrecognizable corpse.
He would pass off Fletch's body as his own, flee to Rio with Sally Ann, William, and the $3 million from the policy, plus all the stock he was liquidating for cash.
Stanwyck, the man who paid premiums for years to keep flying dangerous planes, finally found a way to use his supposed death wish to finance his escape from his golden cage.
But the clock is ticking down to Thursday night. Fletch has identified the murder plot he's supposed to execute, but he has this whole other world, his actual job, that's demanding his attention.
How does he pivot from million-dollar identity theft back to the beach? Which brings us to phase 3. The parallel deep dive into the drug ring, which, ironically, is what ultimately saves his life.
Right. Fletch has to resolve the corruption story before the Stanwyck deadline hits. His original deep dive was into the source of hard drugs, heroin, and pills on the beach.
The key figures were Vatsiana, known as Fat Sam, a kind-eyed, balding, mid-30s music teacher who was addicted himself but was serving as the captive seller.
Then there were the desperate addicts, like Bobby, the 15-year-old prostitute, and Creasy, the ex-rock drummer. Fletch had spent 36 hours watching the stash location, a chink in the seawall, but the supply was regularly replenished, and Fat Sam never ever left the beach.
The logistics were impossible to crack from the outside.
The breakthrough lay with the local runner, Gummy Montgomery, the superintendent's son. Gummy was picked up by the police every 10 days for questioning, but he always returned beat up and smiling almost immediately after.
And that behavior, combined with Fletch, recalling John Collins mentioning that Police Chief Cummings had refused an offer to subsidize an outside drug investigation.
It started linking the police directly to the operation.
So Fletch knew he needed to force the issue to get evidence. On Saturday night, during a police sweep, Fletch physically fights 3 police officers. He belts them. He is deliberately causing trouble, risking arrest.
But he isn't arrested. Sando tells him the chief said to leave you there.
Chief Cummings, the former career Army NCO running the operation, didn't want a journalist, however deep his cover was, anywhere near the station or being processed.
Right. Especially if an arrest would expose Fletch's press credentials. Cummings wanted Fletch to remain a nuisance on the beach, not a liability in his precinct.
Then the tragedy occurs. Bobby, the 15-year-old prostitute, dies of an overdose Sunday night or Monday morning.
And this gives Fletch the moral leverage he needs to pursue the story, regardless of the personal risk. He uses Bobby's death to confront Gummy on Tuesday.
And he employs a masterful bluff. He lies, telling Gummy that Fat Sam has turned state's evidence, named Gummy as the pusher, and provided a deposition.
The bluff works instantly. Gummy confesses.
And Gummy reveals the staggering truth. The true source of all the drugs on the beach, generating street prices totaling as much as $75,000 a month, is Chief Graham Cummings. The chief is running a massive smuggling operation.
So Cummings, leveraging his background and his position, smuggles the drugs from Mexico monthly. He uses his private, dark blue Chevrolet, which is fitted with chief of police plates and police lights, to avoid customs scrutiny.
He claims he's building a retirement home south of the border, which provides a respectable cover for his frequent high-speed border crossing.
Gummy's role was strictly as the middleman. He'd signal Cummings by parking his Volkswagen minibus conspicuously. Cummings would pick him up, take him to the office, close the door.
Gummy would transfer the cash up to $20,000 via a money belt under his Hawaiian shirt and receive the new drug supply.
And Fat Sam, the kindly music teacher Fletch initially viewed as a simple addict, was in fact a captive receiver distributor forced to work for Cummings after being arrested. He chose that over a long jail sentence.
And Fat Sam, terrified and desperate, confirms this immediately and provides Fletch with concrete smoking gun evidence.
A handwritten note from Cummings confirming the arrangement and mentioning the suicide of a prior runner named Jeff.
So Fletch now has two major blockbuster stories, both with deadly implications, converging on the same critical deadline, Thursday.
The convergence is, terrifying. Fletch has multiple obligations he has to escape, all culminating on Friday morning.
First, the newspaper. His editor, Clara Snow, demanded the beach story be submitted by 4 p.m. Thursday, and Fletch has to appear Friday morning at 10 a.m. to receive his long-delayed Bronze Star at the Marine Commandant's ceremony, or he is fired.
Second, the legal threats. Fletch is facing an instant arrest warrant for contempt of court. He defaulted on alimony owed to his ex-wife Barbara. What was it, over $8,000?
$8,412, and criminal fraud for writing a bad check from a found checkbook with no account. These warrants were to be served Friday morning.
And finally, the self-engineered domestic chaos. Fletch, in a series of manipulative phone calls, convinced both his ex-wives, Barbara and Linda, to move back into his apartment at the same time on Friday morning.
He has orchestrated a truly spectacular pileup of professional, legal, and marital obligations that he absolutely must escape before sunrise Friday.
So everything culminates on Thursday night. Fletch knows he has to resolve the drug story and avoid becoming Stanwyck's corpse, all within the final hours of the deadline.
Fletch operates under extreme pressure, but with this clinical efficiency. At 3:20 a.m. Thursday morning, he takes a huge risk. He breaks into Stanwyck's house.
And he confirms his suspicion that the .38 caliber Smith & Wesson is still in the desk drawer, but the bullet clip has been removed.
Stanwyck wasn't just planning to stage a robbery. He was ensuring his body double, Fletch, would be completely unarmed and helpless when Stanwyck revealed his true intentions.
Stanwyck, the meticulous plotter, was planning to disarm his own assassin.
Precisely.
Fletch then shifts entirely to his journalistic deadline. He finishes the drug corruption story, including the crucial emotional detail of Bobby's body being found, and submits the affidavits. He makes sure the story runs in the Thursday afternoon paper.
And this is key. The story about Chief Cummings hits the street hours before the proposed murder time.
This action moves the threat from Fletch's abstract fear to Cummings's immediate professional reality.
And Fletch ensures accountability. He arranges for his Marine buddy, District Attorney Alston Chambers, to receive the original affidavits and Cummings' handwritten note.
And Chambers is instructed to move quickly because the afternoon paper is already printing the news, and Cummings, a desperate NCO running a vast criminal enterprise, would instantly turn dangerous.
So this guarantees the chief's arrest is imminent, even as Fletch heads for his deadly appointment with Stanwyck.
At 8:30 p.m. Thursday, Fletch arrives at Stanwyck's home, right on schedule. Stanwyck, believing Fletch is there to commit the murder for $50,000.
Or maybe for the full $3 million he suspects Fletch now knows about.
Right. He lets Fletch in and admits to the full plan.
Facing the man he believes is about to kill him, he openly confirms the whole identity plot. He admits Fletch's identical bone structure was the motive for picking him, and that Fletch's murdered body would be identified as his own burned corpse in a staged car crash.
He confirms the two attaché cases contain the $3 million in cash from the recent stock sales, which is necessary for the chartered plane at Command Air Charter Service to facilitate his escape without any commercial baggage checks.
The air is just thick with tension. Stanwyck, cornered and desperate, delivers this twisted moral justification for murder, assuming Fletch is still operating as an assassin.
He says with his chilling logic, "I have the right to kill anyone who has agreed to murder me." He believes Fletch is there to execute the original contract.
But Stanwyck, having anticipated Fletch's potential betrayal, is ready to kill the supposed killer first.
But Fletch is steps ahead. He performs this dramatic reveal. He presents Stanwyck with a copy of a letter Fletch had already prepared for midnight distribution.
And this letter exposes Stanwyck's new identity, the $3 million in cash, and his plan to flee to Rio de Janeiro with Sally Ann Cushing Kavanaugh and her son, William.
Stanwyck realizes Fletch knows everything. The first love, the secret child, the new identity. He is completely defeated, realizing his perfect plan is known to the man he intended to use and then burn.
He's just waiting for the inevitable betrayal.
The
murder, the robbery, the blackmail.
And the moral decision falls entirely to Fletch, the supposed amoral drifter. Fletch refuses to murder Stanwyck, refuses to rob him, and refuses to blackmail him. The letter exposing Stanwyck was scheduled for midnight, giving Stanwyck hours to flee or change his mind.
Fletch's only stated motivation for this astonishing moral restraint.
Beats tennis.
Beats tennis.
It's an act of profound indifference wrapped in this flash of true moral judgment. Fletch had no interest in Stanwyk's money or his life. He simply wanted the story and the truth.
So Fletch turns to leave, having chosen to walk away from $3 million and the perfect escape route. And that's when the entire house just explodes in violence.
Two explosive cracks shatter the French windows. Stanwyk is shot twice in the back by a high-powered rifle and dies instantly. The timing is impossibly coincidental, yet perfectly logical in the context of Fletch's day job.
The shooter is identified immediately. Chief Graham Cummings, who had been following Fletch.
Cummings, in his private police car, which Fletch had noted had a Winchester rifle slung beneath the dashboard, had read Fletch's drug story in the afternoon paper. He wasn't following Stanwyk.
He was following Fletch.
He was following Fletch, the journalist who had just exposed his $75,000 monthly operation, intending lethal revenge.
But Cummings makes a fatal mistake. Fletch had noted that Stanwyk had recently bleached his hair blonde.
Likely as part of his preparation to disappear, maybe to make his future identification easier as a new man.
Because Stanwyk shared Fletch's identical bone structure and was now newly blonde, Cummings mistook the wealthy executive for the reporter who had just ruined his life.
The intended victim, Fletch, survives, and the intended murderer, Stanwyk, is killed by a separate, unrelated crime boss.
And Stanwyk, dying on the floor, realizes Fletch is still alive and utters these final, chaotic instructions, a complete inversion of his initial proposition.
Nail the bastard. Use the money. Mail the bastard.
Stanwyk is killed by the police chief Fletch had just exposed, and Stanwyk's final request to Fletch is to use the $3 million intended for his escape to pursue justice against Cummings.
The entire ethical calculus of Fletch's decision is instantly simplified. With Stanwyk dead, Fletch immediately steps into the murdered man's shoes, realizing the opportunity to escape his own converging deadlines is just too perfect to ignore.
So first, Fletch cleans up the scene. He meticulously ensures the crime scene matches Stanwyk's original plan. He makes sure Stanwyk's gun is empty, just as Stanwyk had planned, removing the clip, and returns the empty weapon to the desk drawer.
Then he uses his handkerchief to dust the drawer handle, the desk, the window handle, removing any residual fingerprints. He grabs the two attaché cases containing the $3 million in cash.
And he drives immediately to the Command Air charter service. At 10:00 p.m. Thursday, he dictates the second blockbuster story, the Stanwyk murder over the phone, to the News Tribune copy desk.
This dictation is pure journalistic genius. Fletch is dictating the official narrative before the police even know a body exists. He claims the murder happened tonight at 9:30 p.m., the body found at 11:00 p.m., guaranteeing the story hits the first edition.
He includes fabricated police spokesman quotes and critically ensures that the official narrative includes the victim's hair being bleached blonde, Stanwyk's true background, the Purple Heart, the family in Nonhegan, and Joan Stanwyk's supposed shock.
He ensures that the entire official story, including the blonde hair detail, which proves Cummings' mistake, is the accepted truth before anyone else can complicate the facts. Fletch has now solved two crimes, engineered the downfall of a police chief, and framed his own departure.
And then he dictates his final, legendary note to his editor, Clara Snow, capping off his career as a News Tribune reporter in spectacular style.
Dear Clara, leaving? Area too hot tonight. Frank says you're lousy in bed too. Love, Fletch.
The ultimate mic drop. But the chaos Fletch avoids is almost as important as the chaos he caused.
At the charter office, Fletch finds confirmation that Stanwyk's escape plan was fully operational and just, waiting for its intended passenger.
Sally Ann Cushing Kavanaugh and her son William are waiting in the lobby with 5 pieces of baggage. The boy mentions Uncle Alan.
Fletch realizes he has literally stepped into Stanwyk's shoes, complete with the first love waiting to flee to a new life in Rio.
But Fletch denies they're waiting for him and proceeds alone to the chartered jet with the $3 million. He doesn't take the woman Stanwyk was fleeing for, but he takes the cash that was supposed to fund their life.
And he flies off to Rio de Janeiro, thus avoiding the incredible converging chaos scheduled for 10 a.m. Friday morning.
Think about the pure, delicious administrative disruption Fletch engineers. By taking that jet, he avoids the Marine Commandant ceremony, ensuring his own firing.
He avoids the contempt of court charges from both ex-wives, Barbara and Linda, who are scheduled to move into his apartment simultaneously.
He avoids the criminal fraud charges.
And most hilariously, his attorney impersonator, Gillette, whom Fletch had duped into promising to present him at court, will now face an arrest warrant for aiding a fugitive.
Fletch didn't just escape. He caused a simultaneous, localized social and legal implosion for everyone who sought to control them.
It is the ultimate expression of the chaos agent journalist. The Stanwyck case demonstrates Fletch's core tenet: when facts contradict each other, when Stanwyck is healthy but claims terminal cancer, when he hates his parents but visits them every 6 weeks.
When he's buying a ranch but the broker denies it.
The contradiction itself is the story. Fletch used skepticism and his journalistic cover to solve not just Stanwyck's attempted murder and fraud, but a massive police drug ring.
It's an incredible look at morality, isn't it? Fletch refused to murder Stanwyck out of, what, moral indifference? Then he immediately stole his $3 million dollars and his escape route out of financial opportunism.
Right. He successfully exposed the chief of police who tried to kill him and dodged all his own legal and marital commitments in one epic night.
The profound irony is that Stanwyck, the man who so carefully plotted his escape from a life he hated, was murdered, while Fletch, the supposed victim Stanwyck hired, ended up with the $3 million dollars and a new life in Rio.
But if we connect this all the way back to the beginning, we could see Stanwyck was subtly laying the groundwork for his exit for years.
You mean the flying of the experimental planes?
Absolutely. The entire origin of that $3 million policy was Stanwyck's continuing habit of flying those dangerous aircraft even after his daughter, Julia, was born. John Collins put the insurance on him to stop him from flying, hoping the financial burden of the premiums would deter him.
And Stanwyck, a man who desperately wanted out of his oppressive marriage and corporate life, continued risking his life, paying the heavy premiums himself, thereby ensuring his death would benefit the family he was trying to flee.
So he was courting death in those dangerous aircraft, perhaps subconsciously trying to engineer an escape, or at least an end long before he devised the calculated murder plan involving Fletch.
That's the question that lingers, isn't it? Was the Fletch scheme merely the final, concrete form of a death wish Stanwyck had harbored for years, driven by the tragedy of losing Sally Ann and being forced into a life defined by his father-in-law?
I mean, what stands out most to you about Fletch's capacity for both moral justice, refusing to kill or blackmail, and simultaneous financial opportunism, fleeing with the $3 million intended for a new life? That complexity is why Fletch is the ultimate anti-hero, always ready to turn a crisis into a fantastic exit strategy.